tonight we're going to be joined by Erica Dermer. I'm going to take one of these out because these are not the headphones that I like. So we're going to be chatting with Erica Dermer tonight from The Celiac and the Beast and talking, kind of whatever floats our boat tonight, I think. We're going to talk a little bit about digestive health and go from there. Oh, did I wave? No, I need to invite. Sorry, Erica. My brain's dead. Hey, girlfriend.
Hey, Margaret. How are you?
I am good. Sorry that I'm late. We were just finishing up dinner real quick.
That's okay. It's 4 o'clock here, so I still have to figure out what I'm making for dinner.
We had chicken parmesan.
We're probably going to have chicken wings. Air fryer.
See, I still have not rocked the air. I don't have an air fryer yet. I'm one of the, late to the game, I guess.
You can get it super, super cheap. Even at like Target or Amazon. Even the Amazon ones are super cheap. They're totally worth it.
I saw that Instant Pot has a lid. An air fryer lid.
Yeah, but do you have an Instant Pot?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, well then...
But I wonder if it would work as good as a regular air fryer.
Probably not.
Probably
An air fryer is just a mini, like a very tiny convection oven. Like, it's not that sexy. Like, you can't put things in it and expect them to, like, magically turn into something that it's not. It's just like a tiny convection oven is the best thing because you can bake in it too. It's not like I want to. You can make like 5 cookies. Cindy has a lot of good recipes for baking, but for us, we do a lot of just like put in chicken wings to do it. Like we'll just put oil and spices on them, or we do like the chicken tenders. Oh, they're the best when you put them in the air fryer because we have a countertop oven too. And it's okay, but it doesn't get as crispy as the air fryer.
Well, I may have to sooner or later. I was slow coming to the whole Instant Pot thing, and then I got one that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. So I'm slow.
Yeah, I don't use it, that's for sure. I don't use my Instant Pot. We use our air fryer for pretty much everything. But we don't do a lot of like soups and stews that we don't do in the Vitamix. I do all my soups in the Vitamix, so... We're not like crock pot people. I grew up as a crock pot person because my mom's from the Midwest, but I haven't found it myself to be useful. I don't know.
And I'm sure the air fryer is nice, especially being in Phoenix where you live, because it's so ungodly hot. And so like it's not heating up the whole...
Yep. Yes, I too am terrified of the steam valve. In fact, I've taken an Instant Pot class because I was so afraid of the steam valve. And I'm not sure if I've gotten over my fear of the steam valve yet. And I'm pretty sure that I will be like scalded and like have some sort of lifetime scar if I try to use an Instant Pot without like help, without like some of my girlfriends on. I'd probably like FaceTime live with someone just to make sure that I'm doing it right and I don't burn myself.
What I end up doing is, so I unplug it from like the back of the pot and then I set it on the floor and then I open it and like step away. Partially too because like where it is in our kitchen, like it would ruin our wood cabinets. Yeah. Like all the steam. So I found that works. It just makes my dog freak out too, which is kind of funny. She's like, what's going on?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we have wood cabinets too now. So it's a little can get a little sketchy when you have that much steam. Yes. Our cabinets are from like maybe 50s, maybe 60s. We're not sure. So they've seen a lot. I don't want to add to it.
Right. No, we're not really sure. Our house was in foreclosure when we bought it. So we don't really know much of anything about the house. We just kind of update it when we need to.
I'm sure there's like weird dead things in the wall. That's always fun when you get a foreclosed house. You never know.
Oh, no, but the wallpaper. So
choice.
It was bad. Like it's still not all the way completely off because they put it on wrong. It's like now the walls are ruined. So we're probably going to have to like have somebody come in and professionally do stuff. It's crazy.
You can paint it and just pretend like it was never there.
Except for like they wallpapered over where there were chunks of the wall missing. Like the drywall wasn't. Yeah, it's like hot mess.
Yeah.
Craziness. So, thank you for joining me tonight. I really want to talk to you, like, first of all, for those who are watching, if you don't know Erica Dermer from Celiac and the Beast, hey, Cindy's here. Yay, Cindy. If you're not following Erica, you need to. You need to. That's just the honest answer because she's great with lots of honest information, and I love your attitude, for lack of a better term. Like, you just say it as it is.
Yeah, I'm a little saucy.
That's what I love about you.
Thanks.
So I thought tonight maybe we could talk about, as I think you've talked about it before, especially on your blog and social media, like sometimes when we have celiac, maybe we're not feeling well, but maybe it's not just the celiac that's making us feel that way. Mm-hmm. Like, I know that you have gastroparesis, which I had never heard of before until you were willing to share your journey with that. And you also have IBS, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So again, I don't know a whole lot about that either. And I kind of wanted to do these talks as a way to not only educate myself, but if I don't know something, other people probably don't know either. So kind of giving you a chance to tell your story. So if you don't mind telling us, what is gastroparesis?
Yeah, so it's basically when you're like, how do I put this? So like your stomach churns and it creates movement to slosh around all the gastric juices and like digest food. And it comes from a nerve. This is the sympathetic nervous system, the one that you can't control. You know, like there's two different nervous systems. One that's like my hands are moving. One that's like, oh, I'm going to pump my heart and I'm going to tell my stomach to churn and I'm going to tell my intestines to move the poop along. You know, like there's several things that happen without us knowing. And it's one of the nervous systems. I would be the worst biologist ever because I don't remember if it's sympathetic or parasympathetic.
Right.
Anyway, it's a nervous system that we don't talk about. So there's all this thing that's controlled by the vagus nerve, which is a very large nerve that is the fight or flight nerve. And it controls something about the stomach churning and turning and kind of digesting your food, and then opening and closing the valves to take your food down to your small intestine, your large intestine. So basically your stomach is paralyzed, to like put it in simple terms. So the vagus nerve is not working properly, and mine wasn't working at all, and I was getting super full after meals and like just nauseous all the time, and just not feeling well. And they had put me on a couple different medications. One made me so sleepy I almost fell asleep while driving. It's black box by the FDA because it gives super bad side effects. Oh. So I was on that one and that didn't work. And then I wasn't allowed to have fresh fruits or vegetables for years. Only blended vegetables and like cooked vegetables, because vegetables take a really long time for your stomach to like churn, and like salad takes up a lot of room in your stomach. Whereas like fats, oils, meat take up very small amounts of room. So with the salad, it fills up your whole stomach. And with gastroparesis, things are not moving properly and digesting properly, so food just stays in there for way longer than it should. It's like I wasn't allowed to have baby carrots or celery. Those are like the two biggest offenders, and fresh salads, so like lettuce. Wasn't allowed to have those because they'd make me super, super sick. I felt like I was going to like throw up all the time. I was always on like anti-nausea, either medication, or I would take like ginger pills constantly. I wasn't allowed to drink water with meals. In fact, I couldn't drink much water because it would make me so sick, because it just filled up my stomach and it didn't go down properly. So I had all these problems, and it basically got to a point where they're like, we don't know what else we can do with you. There's a medication, but you can't get it in America. So I was sending out like international pharmaceutical orders to get this medication. And he's like, I think if you're really serious, we need to get you a gastric pacemaker, which is basically a heart pacemaker, but for your stomach. So that's kind of what they wanted to do. And I'm like, I'm too young. I'm 20 something. I don't want a pacemaker. I went to Mayo Clinic and they're like, this is weird. Let's like just check to make sure it's not all these things. Ended up doing the full gluten challenge because I was gluten-free for a while because they thought it was celiac, but I wasn't properly diagnosed several times over, didn't do the right tests. Mayo Clinic finally was like, yeah, this is not gastroparesis, really, this is celiac, which was like causing all these issues, because once I went fully gluten-free, the gastroparesis primarily went away. And so instead of it happening daily, now it happens like once every few months. So like once every few months, like I just got really sick. I ate a salad for 2 meals in a row, which like I can eat a salad as long as I don't eat a lot of salad. And it happened again, so I was really sick for like another day or two. That was it. I mean, and now it's fine, and now things are better, and I'm eating fresh fruit, and I can eat like a one salad meal. So, yeah, it was just super strange, and they don't know if celiac like triggered it or chicken and egg, like what made it happen first. But all I know is that on a gluten-free diet, it made everything better. So there are plenty of people that have this disease far worse than I had it, where they can't eat anything. They lose like nothing. These people look emaciated, and they have to have GI tubes put in. So they have to get all their food through a tube. So I was pretty lucky like that. It was just basically go gluten-free because you had celiac, and celiac made it better. And I noticed when I do get gluten, I do get GERD really bad, and my stomach digestion is slower. So I don't know how they're related, but they are related to my celiac because it got better when I went fully gluten-free.
I think that's interesting because I know there's a few followers that I have that are both celiac and have gastroparesis. That makes me wonder, again, like maybe, you know, we know that celiac is underdiagnosed, but like maybe people that have gastroparesis should be checked for celiac disease, you know. I don't know. Yeah. So, wow. So thanks for explaining that. You did that very well. And now I understand what it is. So.
Yeah, it's very strange because people can present in different ways, but you're often told to go on a low residue diet, which like, it's kind of like a low fiber diet, but we think of, residue as like things in your stomach that make it hard for it to slosh around. And so for me, even smoothies, like I can't have big smoothies. I can have small smoothies. And I can't drink all this water in one sitting or I'll throw it back up. You know, like it's different. Like, and every person, just like celiac, right? Like every person with gastroparesis has a different strictness of the low residue diet, and if they can eat vegetables at all, or if they have to eat baby food. Like I tried baby food for a couple weeks, that sucked. So it was just, it's weird, and it's great for people who have gastroparesis that are not on feeding tubes, because feeding tubes are not great, and obviously there's a lot of psychosocial issues that go along with having a feeding tube in and being like stuck to nutrition and not eating. And it can, you know, like anytime you're on a restricted diet, it can trigger latent eating disorders. So there's like a whole bunch of mess that's kind of combined with anytime you have a very strict diet. But yeah, gastroparesis is funky.
Very interesting. So I'd like to talk a minute about your IBS and like, I think what exactly is it? Because I think we talk sometimes about this, like maybe doctors say, oh, you have IBS, and they don't test for celiac. And so I think it's important for people to know you can have both, you know. So if you could explain, I don't know, as much as you want to explain, I guess. And also how did you realize that it was IBS and not just your celiac as well?
So my celiac isn't digestive based. It's more stomach based. So like it's not, so people have like digestive distress, right? You're like, oh, I want to run to the bathroom, that kind of thing. That's more like lower GI. Mine was upper GI, nauseous, vomiting, GERD. Like I've always had GERD, and now that I don't have celiac, I don't have GERD. It's very, you know, like that was like, oh, that was so telling to me. And I have like aphthous ulcers, I have joint pain, like I don't have the classical lower GI symptoms. So when I developed it, I don't know if Cindy's still on here, but she remembers several times in which I had like massive IBS issues when I was either in a hotel with her or in a bed and breakfast with her. And she is my roommate, and she has had to see some things, me crying in the bathroom many times, more so probably than my partner has. Bless you, Cindy, for being so sweet. So when I was having lower GI issues, I'm like, hold up, this is not celiac. Like I'm very strict on my diet. So if something happens, I can usually trace back to be like, shouldn't have had that takeout from XYZ restaurant, or like, I know Payway screwed me one time. Why do I keep trusting them? That kind of thing. That I can usually figure out because I am so strict. But when this was happening with lower GI, I'm like, what is this? Like, I don't know what this is. I don't This is not normal. And it wasn't like food poisoning where it happened once and then you think you're dying and then you get better. It was just like, this is happening all the time and it's not great. And it was like a lot of mucus in your stool. Yeah, I'm glad you just ate, everyone. So that was super, super bad, to the point where you're like, I don't think you should be pooping this. And I was like, is this a thing that people do? Because I'm like, what if I've never had normal stool and this is what normal stool looks like? And they're like, yeah, this is not normal stool. I was like, there was a lot of urgency. Like, I have to go and I have to go now. And there was a lot of cramping. And it was weird because I also have endometriosis. And you know that, like, the uterus is right in front of basically the intestines. And so I'm like, is this like endometriosis or is this IBS? So everything's crammed down there. And so you're kind of like playing like guessing games on what it is. And so after it happened for a couple days, I'm like, this is not right. I have to see a doctor. So I went and they thought it was ulcerative colitis. And I was like, sure of it. It's related to celiac, kind of. Like, I mean, you're more apt to get it, but it's not like a direct relationship like thyroid issues. And she did the colonoscopy and she's like, you're fine. Like, you're clean. You've got no ulcerative colitis. You've got no Crohn's disease. It's just IBS. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. And it's not like I was wanting to have Crohn's, but I came in expecting like, oh, I'm going to go on a biologic. And, you know, I know plenty of people who have Crohn's or ulcerative colitis and they can manage it. And I'm like, I got this. And then when I like woke up, she's like, it's not that. So yeah, so I had to basically go to her and be like, what do we do next? And I got on an antispasmodic because part of the issue with IBS is your intestines are spasming and it feels like cramping. That's like where the mucus creation comes from. Again, super cool dinner conversation. So yeah, you took an antispasmodic, like you can take antidiarrheals, but for the most part, the cramping was it, and like the urgency, like I think I'm going to poop my pants for sure. Like there's several times where I was driving, I'm like, this is it. Like, how do you clean like human waste out of the Nissan Sentra? And thankfully I haven't had to do that. But like there were several times where I'm like, this is it. This is the day that I poop in my car. And it's not like I was traveling far. I'm like going to the grocery store. So that's like an urgency where you're like, this doesn't seem like this is right. Yeah. And so just following up with medication, and then, working with like dietitians on a low FODMAP diet to see if FODMAPs are the issue. FODMAPs are a type of sugar that's in certain foods. So like for me, it's, apples, cauliflower, garlic, onion, any of those can trigger like an IBS episode, or it could just be nothing. And for the most part, it's stress. Like, so anytime you have like an emotional stressor, that's when IBS can flare up.
Like if you lose your job.
Like losing your job, or like your partner losing his job, or like moving into a new house, or I don't know, putting on a gluten-free bloggers retreat, and then being in like incredible modes of stress. So and I didn't want to believe that stress would get to me that way. Like I thought that I was better than that because I'm a type A personality. Like I'm stressed out my whole life. But I think this is my body's way of being like, hey, I think maybe things are not okay. So, yeah.
Thank you for everyone who's joining. I see lots of people joining on. And
thank you.
And if you are, just again, we're talking to Erica Dermer from Celiac and the Beast, and she's kind of sharing about some of her other digestive issues that she's had on top of celiac disease, and maybe how, if you're experiencing the same thing, this is why you should see a doctor. And Erica, you've always gone to digestive diseases week. So like, I don't know, again, I think you're just like a wealth of information. So I'm not even sure what to ask you, but I just know like, you're so cool.
Thanks. You know what? It was, for those of you who don't know, I was the editor for the largest gluten-free magazine in the country, so I did have to know a lot of things about a lot of things when it came to digestive health. And I wish I was a doctor, however, I am not, but I'm pretty good at knowing what things are. So I'm whip smart, but when it comes to like what's going on in my life, that's really hard. Because again, like I went and I'm like, this is ulcerative colitis. I know what colitis looks like. I studied colitis, and I went and she's like, it's not colitis. And I'm like, well, what do I do now? Like, what are the drugs that I go on? So it was interesting. The drugs that I went on, like I had met with those pharma people when I went to DDW, but I've never thought that I'd go and be like, I'm a patient, you know? So It's interesting. Like, I think that pharmaceuticals are really cool, and they definitely helped save my butt quite a few times with not only gastroparesis, but IBS. And I hope that when the celiac disease drug comes out, that people are very excited about it. And I hope that we get a lot of excitement towards it, because there are a lot of naysayers for pharmacology, but honestly, it's life-saving to a lot of people.
Absolutely. So for those who are watching, if you've got a question for Erica or for me, or just want to tell her how awesome she is, because she is, please say that in the comments. So I don't know, what things have
you run out of things to ask me, Margaret? It's been like 20
I have, because it's Friday and my brain is just, well, then, like, I know we've talked so much about things. I'm like, oh, so, like, what do people want to talk about? What do they want to hear about? So, we could talk about living in Phoenix in 111-degree weather. Cool.
So let's talk about Disney opening. So Walt Disney World is going to open in July. Thank you. You're so sweet. Walt Disney World's going to open in July, and I don't know if anyone's going to go, but I think people are very excited about it. And
they just announced that they're canceling they're not allowing people to use the Fast Pass, and they're not allowing...
There's going to be a lot of different things.
They canceled dinner reservations. Everyone says their reservations are officially canceled.
Yep. So it's... the ileocecal valve, are they part of IBS? I mean, yes, like there's a lot of valve things that are happening because it's all related to your nervous system, but I don't know what part that they play in it. Great question about IBS, and I'm like, that's a super medical person for knowing the different valves. I love it.
That's where you go, like when you talk to William Che from the Food Doc or somebody. I'm like, he lives in Michigan. I should meet this guy.
I love him. I'm in love with him. I mean, like, not like,
right.
But like, I totally would. So Disney. So I'm wearing my Disney shirt in, I guess, sadness and remembrance. What sucks is that I was going to be a part of the Teen Summit that we do every year at Disney World. So unfortunately, this year it got canceled. But obviously, kids are worried about going, and their parents didn't want them to go either. So I will be missing that this year. I will be going next year. And our big gluten-free Disney meetup for Disneyland was also canceled in March. So unfortunately, it's hard because every year I've been to Disney World and Disneyland, and it just hasn't been. Oh, thank you. That's very kind. It hasn't been the same not being able to go to Disneyland or Disney World. I usually go to Disneyland several times a year. It just happens to be there. Like, I'm at an event in Anaheim, and Disneyland's right there. Or I do the big Disney meetup. So I'm kind of sad about that. And I wish that there was just another place that we all felt safe to go to, that we could celebrate together. Like, people are like, oh, Vegas is so great. Like, why don't we have a party in Vegas? But, like, Vegas is okay. It's not, it's okay for celiac friendly, but there's nothing quite like going to Disneyland or Disney World. And I'm very sad. I got the email about my canceled reservations for dinner, and I'm like, it was very sad. So that's kind of my bummer for the year. I mean, obviously people dying and a terrible thing, all afraid to leave our houses. Yeah, that's the one thing that I'm very, very sad about, is that I can't, because it's some of my most fun content to make, and it's like, it's great to show people that you can go and be completely safe and eat a different meal at a different place, literally eating 3 times a day at different restaurants, and you're safe the whole time, like dairy free and gluten free and beef free and all the other things that I'm free from. Like, it's very nice to go and just have a safe space. So I'm happy that it's opening. I hope that we all get a chance to like be a part of it later. So.
Yep. Miss Liz is saying her 7-year-old son was diagnosed with celiac in January, and you have been super helpful and inspiring, Erica. Thank you.
Oh, good. Yeah, I don't have kids, and I'm not familiar with kids. I can do teens because they speak our language, but small children, I think, are afraid of me, and I'm okay about that. So I just help with their parents. So yeah, it's been cool working with teens. I thought I was young until I went and worked with teens, and they're like, "No, you're old," and I'm like, "Yeah, okay." I thought I was still like, I could pass it off. I do social media. I know what TikTok is, whatever. And they're like, "You're not as cool as you think that you are." So nothing like kids to put you in your place when you're like, "I'm cool," and they're like, "You're not cool. You're old."
Yeah, the YMCA canceled all camp, so we don't have gluten-free camp this summer. So yeah, they definitely remind me that I'm old because, the little ones probably don't realize what age is. And when I say little ones, I think our youngest campers are like 8 or 9. Yeah. But it's fun. Like the teenagers, like, you're an adult and we're going to go do our teen things now. So see you later. Bye.
I know. I remember I walked up to a group of teens at the burger joint. I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" And they're like, "Hey," and I'm like, "I'm not a narc. I just want to be your friend." And I'm like, "Oh, that's so sad. Like, I'm so old. I thought I could pass, but I'm not." I'm like, "I have a tattoo. I'm cool." And they're like, "You're old. Old people have tattoos." So it's weird.
So have you seen, I guess, I don't know, are there any myths or things that you've been seeing on social media that just drive you nuts right now? Like, I've had like a bunch of people this week that had no idea that there was Malton Rice Krispies. Yeah. And I'm like, how don't you read the label?
I mean, that's a hard one. I think that
it is.
When I always used to give like 101 talks, we'd always call barley like the sneaky ninja because it always sneaks in. And I think that people just want to feel normal, and Rice Krispies is one of those things that make you feel normal, like Rice Krispie treats. And what sucks, like for these kids that are just now diagnosed, we used to have great gluten-free Rice Krispies. We not only had it from Rice Krispies, like the brand, but Attune Foods had the best Rice Krispies. So now we have Nature's Path, which is hard to find in some places, and Zigo Foods just launched black Rice Krispies. So I'm actually going to be making like black Rice Krispie treats.
That'll be cool.
Yeah, I'm excited with some Dandy's vegan marshmallows. So they contain soy, but they're the only marshmallows that I get. I don't know why. I know the Dandy's guys, so I started buying them, and now I want to like support them. So even though they have soy, they're delicious, and they have a new coffee flavor too. So
I met Dan. I think the owner's name is Dan. I met him at when it was the GFAF Expo. Dan Reed, right? I think is one of them. Because they sent us stuff. They sent us stuff for camp before, which was really great.
So kids can have Rice Krispies. So anyways, I'm sad that there's not as many available Rice Krispie treats, especially in like, my problem is there's so many great things for gluten-free people to purchase in Whole Foods or Sprouts or Natural Grocers or Aldi's seasonal, obviously. Right. They're good stuff, but when it comes to mass market grocery stores, like Kroger's been getting better over the years. Walmart has a section, Safeway, which is Vons and other places. But they're fine, but it's those things that you can't find there that like it sucks. So Zigo Foods is making the black Rice Krispies. It's with Lotus Foods Black Rice. Oh. And they're the ones that they partnered with. And Lotus Foods does this amazing regenerative rice farming. Wherever they're farming, is it Thailand? I think they have they work with farmers rice is a very water heavy usage food, and they work with them to do like a regenerative crop policy. I don't know, it's really cool what they're doing. So I like that Zigo is partnering with Lotus Foods. Lotus Foods is the one that makes
the ramen.
The ramen, yeah. So anytime you want to have gluten-free ramen, Lotus Foods is the people. Yeah, they're great.
So that is the one thing I should have thought to talk to you about, because you do go to Expo West. Do you go to Expo East too?
I do, yeah. So I used to for work, and then I made a pledge that I would never do it again because it's so expensive. And then I missed it when I didn't go, and so I don't think I haven't not gone for like 4 years. And then they moved it to Philadelphia. So this would be my first time going in the summer, fall.
Fall.
What's that season that
it's usually September because it's usually right around my birthday.
Mm-hmm. It's September. So yeah, that'll be kind of the first time that we all feel kind of normal going back to like a major trade show. Yeah, it'll be weird.
So are there products, because I know you had some, because Expo West was canceled, like were there, and I know you shared some pictures, but were there any products that you learned about that you were super excited about?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's just always having an increase of gluten-free products that are available, which is so nice to see, because it used to be like, oh God, I can't even name the loaf of bread that you used to get, but it used to be awful, and it's like shelf stable, and it shouldn't be. It tastes like cardboard. It's truly awful.
I have an idea that I know who you're talking about.
We have like 20 gluten-free brands of bread. Mm-hmm. So every year it grows. And like this year, there's a lot of dairy-free is the new hot thing, which is nice. Like everyone's making their own line of dairy-free butter. Everyone's making their own line of like dairy-free cheese. And what's nice is there's gluten-free vegan ravioli coming out. And that will be very exciting because I can't have dairy. So all the ravioli that's out right now is awesome, but I would like to eat it myself.
So who makes that dairy-free ravioli? Or are you not allowed to say?
I can, and I've shared it, and normally I would look at my phone, but I'm on it to talk to you. But it's on my website, celiacandpeace.com, under Best Gluten-Free Pasta.
Okay.
It's Taste Republic.
Okay.
They are Peace Pasta, but Taste Republic is their new brand. So yeah, so that's exciting. There's plenty of free-from stuff that's coming out by smaller brands that are finally like launching in major retailers. And I think that that's really important too, is we have to realize that like gluten-free is part of a bigger community of free-from. So like we also have to realize that we are also responsible for dairy-free and nut-free. And we have to realize that specialty diets, like the more that gluten-free grows, the more that food allergy-friendly grows, the more that we're going to see all of that stuff in stores, because most buyers, if they're going to purchase something for a grocery store to like have on their shelves, they're going to want something that's gluten-free, yes, but we all know that food allergies are increasing, and they'll also want something that's nut-free or dairy-free or egg-free. So that's always exciting to see that growth too in supermarkets, because we need more of it. We need food allergies to be more relevant to the everyday shopper. Maybe if someone sees it on the shelf, they won't like go back and be like, why can't Tommy bring in peanuts to school? Or that Johnny always has to have his own birthday cake. Like I think when more people see it on the store shelves, they realize that it's not just like annoying moms in schools. Like these kids like have an anaphylactic allergy.
Right. I think that's true too. Like people, at least I know I feel this way. Like I don't have a food allergy, but like we're all kind of in the same boat, and we need to be, we as celiac people need to be advocates for food allergies as well, because we're kind of all in this together, and it's important to understand one another and support one another.
Yeah, and I also think it's important to know that we all eat different, and so we can't be angry about food allergy policies in schools or stuff like that, because we too are a specialty diet. And it's hard too, because vegan gets roped into that a lot. And why I love my vegans and I love vegan food, it's not the same when you are medically necessary to not eat something versus I just don't want to eat it. So it's hard because vegans are roped into specialty diets, especially with buyers. But it's nice that it's kind of gone in two separate, like we used to all be roped into specialty diets, right? So everyone's like, oh yeah, vegan, gluten-free. And now there's a vegan community and a free-from. And I think that it's nice that celiac and food allergies have kind of gotten together to where everyone thinks that, yes, this food is necessary because some people just can't eat it, versus like a preference or a religious need like halal or kosher.
Mm-hmm. I was just talking with Tracy Stuckrath, I think it was last week, and she was talking about, do you know who Tracy is from Thrive Meetings?
No.
Oh, she was at FabLogCon. She spoke at FabLogCon a couple of years ago. She does, like, she's the one that trains, like, conference centers, how to handle, she's, like, an advocate for, like, conference centers and stuff.
Then, yeah, I'm sure I do know her.
Yeah. But she was talking about, like, how conference centers, like, had messed up and, like, had just given somebody bacon, and, like, they're like, oh, sorry. And like the person was, is halal and mortified, you know, and like it's important to respect everybody's diet.
Yeah. And it feels like everyone's got a thing. And I think that we need to be okay with that. Mm-hmm. Like, and if you can't serve or you can't do it properly, then don't offer it.
Right. Exactly. Speaking of bacon, that makes me think of your bacon at hotels. So you should tell people what can be wrong with bacon at hotels, because I never even realized this until you brought it up.
I feel like hotels just do this to me just because it's like my thing. Right. They're like, oh, is Erica coming to this conference? Let me go ahead and screw this up for her. So it's an old catering trick where like food is served in these massive metal pans, and then bacon is very fatty. Obviously, this is not a lesson in bacon. We all know that bacon's fatty. So in order to not have the bottom of the pan just be like an inch coated in like bacon fat, instead of laying down like paper or something, they want to have something to soak it up. So they've always put bread in. Always. That's just how it is. Like in every conference facility, in every hotel, in every like large scale production, there's always bread under bacon. So you have to tell them, like, I want bacon that's prepared on the griddle that's served directly to me on a plate, not this, because there's bread underneath. So several times, like a brand, Marriott, Hilton, Palmer House, whatever, has served bacon. And usually at these conferences, they will attempt to label something gluten-free or food allergy-friendly or nut-free or vegan, whatever, and they'll say it's gluten-free. And so I'll be like, I'm always the first in the line because I want to fix things before things get weird halfway down the line. So I went and I'm like, is this regular bread? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, you've labeled it gluten-free. So now it's not gluten-free because you have bread underneath. They're like, yeah, but the bacon's gluten-free. I'm like, yeah, but let's use our head. If someone were to die of eating gluten, would you want to have that touching that? Probably not. So I've had many things where unfortunately they do throw out the bacon, or they just take it away from the gluten-free section and have them remake bacon in the back for the gluten-free people, or they just cross out gluten-free. So it kind of sucks because bacon's the one thing that I can eat because I don't eat eggs. So bacon's like the thing that I eat at conferences, and I always double check now. And there's been several times where I've gone to a conference and then gone back the next year and they screwed up again. So around like the third year I had went and I had like gone to the gluten-free table and saw that there was bacon there, and I went and I was like, I'm going to lose my mind on these people. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I tell you this every year. And they're like, that's gluten-free bread. I'm like, all right, fine. So like the one time they actually did it. But that was only because like I had come a year before and been so mean about it, because you can't just be like, oh, it's okay. Like, I'm just going to not eat. Like, you paid for this ticket. They said that they could accommodate your allergen. Like, just feed me. And usually I would talk to the head chef, but sometimes the head chef is a jerk. So then you talk to someone else. You move it up the line, and then you ask to talk to hotel management, because oftentimes people in the front of the house or the back of the house, they're not going to go tell their manager, like, oh, we screwed up royally. Like, you need to go directly to them and tell them you have a problem in your process. It's not my job to do it, but I can't be the only celiac at a conference. 1 in 100, and there are thousands of people here. Like, if I have to be the one that shouts and is like aggressive about getting food done the right way, then so be it, because I've seen people like have to go run to their room and puke afterwards because they got the wrong thing served to them. And that's like not kind of how I want to run my life. So yeah.
I had to do that. There was my husband, Brad, was just watching over my shoulder so he could see you. He follows you. It's funny because like I'll hear your voice and he's playing it on his phone. I'm like, oh, you're watching Erica's story. But we were at a mall and there was a candy shop. Like it was like the bins that you pull out, whatever. Yeah. And at the end of the night, they were putting bread on top of the candy to possibly absorb any potential moisture. And I was like, what? And there was nothing on their stand. Like it was like one of those kiosks that you see in the middle of the mall. You know what I mean? And there wasn't anything in their documentation or website that said that they were gluten-free, but you're going to assume gummy worms, you know, and like gummy fish are gluten-free. And I was like, who the heck does this? Yeah, this is the most bizarre thing.
That's the problem is I've actually heard of people doing it for coffee, like to put bread in a coffee to keep it like from anti-caking. Same with brown sugar. And I'm like, these are not things that I want to be worried about in my life. Like, I have enough to worry about as a whole. I don't need to worry about if you're keeping your brown sugar safe. Like, and I wouldn't know this until I was diagnosed. Like, before, I just didn't know. And so I guess this is my role in life, is to like tell people, you can't do this. Like, people have allergies. People will die.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not okay. Like, use a disc in your round sugar. You don't have to use bread for everything. And, like, even if they use gluten-free bread and they had it labeled, like, egg-free, or, like, it's bacon, right? You would think it's egg-free. So if someone's anaphylactic to egg, you're putting in a gluten-free bread there that has egg in it. So, like, people are not thinking through about allergens and how they're labeling things. And, unfortunately, that's kind of how life is when you travel a lot. Like, I've run into a lot of really terrible things, but I also was traveling once a week. Like, of course you're going to run into some terrible things if you travel that much, like airport horribleness, you know? So it's like, it's luck of the draw. And unfortunately, like, it's kind of how it is, and hopefully things are changing and getting better, and if enough people speak up, hopefully it will continue to get better for the next generation of people who have food allergies or celiac, and they also have to travel, or they also choose to travel, and they choose to go international and, like, live a regular life. Like, heaven forbid we have a normal life.
Right. Yes. So those that are just joining us, if you don't know, we're talking with Erica from Celiac and the Beast. If you have any questions, Erica's been great about answering any questions that you have. So Ellen, this is someone local to us. She said, can these places be educated about those allergens?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and they should be. This is the problem, is that corporate usually has an allergen directive in place. And sometimes it just doesn't filter down to franchisees. Like, a person who owns a restaurant that may not be owned by corporate, they're owned by someone else, and they get directives from corporate, and they buy into corporate, but they may not attend to the same policies as far as, like, food labeling or food management or back-of-the-house stuff. So, yes, they can and they should be educated, but many are not. And there's many places that can do that for you. Allertrain is one that can train corporate allergens, or the Gluten Intolerance Group has a GF restaurant program. But the thing is that because we're not asking, it's a darned if you do, darned if you don't situation. I'm editing it for any kids who are there. We aren't asking Olive Garden to make everything safe for us, because if we're gluten-free, we're not going to Olive Garden. So they're not seeing the demand, right? If every person in America is like, on May 31st, we're all going to Olive Garden, we're all going to ask about corporate menu, and we're going to email bomb the corporate headquarters and just say, I need an allergen menu, we're all going to go make this safe. I think that corporate policy and directive would put a preference on that. But we're not giving them the demand because we don't see them treating it safe as it is. It's a total catch-22. Like, you have to go there and give a demand, but at the same time, I don't want to go there and be like, hey, Olive Garden, make me something safe, when you're like, chances are it's probably not going to be. Or same with, like, a family restaurant. Like, if you had a large population of celiacs going to a family restaurant, you're like, hey, do you mind putting something gluten-free on the menu, and this is how you prepare it? But because they're not seeing the need, they're not doing it. And maybe they're not taking the choice to be educated themselves. So I'm not saying that everyone should go to, like, their local mom and pop and be like, make me something gluten-free. Right. But I think that the more demand that we give restaurants for eating gluten-free, the more that we'll see them adapt, especially for corporations. Like, look at Red Robin and what they've done. They're trained by Allertrain. They have, told all of their restaurants, this is how you do it. And yes, some restaurants mess up, and that's just kind of how corporate is.
I think that, I mean, anybody can mess up at any time.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
like, I bought the wrong thing for myself and prepared it for myself. So, like, if I can mess up, obviously someone else can. Right. But I think it's important that everyone has policies in place, and it's usually those places that don't have policies that are kind of sketchy, and I want for them to have policies, but they also don't feel the need to have policies until they have a reason for it, which are people coming into the restaurant. So it's a hard catch-22. Like, what do you do with that? I certainly don't want to go to, like, the restaurant down the street and be like, y'all have gluten-free stuff? Because I know that they probably don't. And I'd rather go to the dedicated gluten-free bakery and support them. So it's hard.
Someday I will come to Phoenix and I will go to Jewel's because you make me want to eat everything there.
I love it here. That's why I haven't moved. It's hot. It's gross. Why would you want to live here?
I will say that it's nice. The high here today was 68 and it was beautiful.
Yeah, it's 113 and I'm like sweating just in the house. So, I mean, but we have, like tomorrow I'm going to the farmer's market and getting like gluten-free croissants and gluten-free chocolate croissants and gluten-free, dairy-free cheese danishes that I pre-ordered, like, and sourdough bread. Like, I have that opportunity in Phoenix to go eat at a dedicated restaurant. I got donuts and popcorn chicken from Jewel's. Like, I can go wherever I want,
right?
Wherever I want here. Like, I'm very lucky. And only a few cities are like this. So
yeah, and because if I want to go to a gluten-free bakery, I have to drive at least a half an hour. And even then, she has less demand, so she is only open a couple days a week. And yeah, like we don't have Whole Foods or Trader Joe's or Farmers or Fresh Time or Sprouts. So
and unfortunately, a lot of the countries like that. Like there's not enough access to safe gluten-free food that is not packaged goods. Thankfully, like there's so many great things that you can order online, but at the same time, it's not the same to be like, I want a cupcake and go out and get a cupcake versus having a pre-order, like ordering it in bulk and getting it shipped on dry ice. That's going to be $50, shipping. So it's quite different. And I still do mail order too. It's not like I can get everything that I necessarily want here, but I can get everything that I need.
Yeah. And I say that too about like even living in Flint. Like I can get gluten-free pasta, I can get the basics, and I can make whatever I want. So yeah, and I know that's not. I mean, I know there's even people that don't have that ability. So and like if you live in a small rural middle of nowhere, that would be a big problem.
Yeah, it's really it's strange because I want to know what that's like, because I want to be able to help serve these people, but I would never, ever choose to do that. Because one, I'm not a small town kind of person. My partner's from a small town. He tells me stories. No, thank you very much. I'm a big city girl. Like it's not my jam to be in a small town. But even some small towns that I've gone to have like one safe restaurant or like one review on finding gluten-free, and that's great. And I want to see more of that. But I think that there also has to be an infrastructure in your small town to generate that want and need. And if you ask your grocer, like even if you have a small grocer in your area, if you are in a small town, like you can ask for them to get things specifically for you. Mm-hmm. And so you have to create that demand yourself, especially with your grocers. It's a little bit different when it comes to like online ordering. Like you can order literally whatever you want. It's just if it's going to stay safe, like in the middle of summer getting shipped to you. But again, using those, like most gluten-free businesses will have on their site, like print this out and give this to the manager of your grocery store and they can order this for you. So I think we have to also create the demand in these small towns too. But also a lot of people who are gluten-free are like choosing to not be in these towns because they want access to whatever they can have. It's like kids want to go to college. Like a lot of them are picking their colleges because of safe gluten-free dining halls or TAPE-free dining halls, kids with food allergens. So I mean, like they're choosing to create the world that they're in based on what they can eat. And while that may seem really sad, it's also empowering. Like, this is what I'm going to do, and I feel safe, and now I can continue to live my life the way that I want to. Like, I think that if Phoenix was not gluten-free friendly, I think I would be way more apt to move to something like Portland, or another city that is way more friendly than this. But thankfully, everything's here that I need, and it's gluten-free friendly.
That's so awesome. Portland's also on my bucket list. I've never been there.
So good.
I've heard so many great things about Portland. Well, I think it'll cut us off at an hour because I was talking to somebody else online the other night and it just said, you've got like 2 minutes left. And I'm like, oh, okay. So if there's anybody else that has any other questions you'd like to ask Erica or me, feel free to chime in here real quick. Any other thoughts we're coming to the end of Celiac Disease Awareness Month, any thoughts in your head that you just want people to hear?
Tell people to get properly tested, I think, is my biggest thing. The people that go gluten-free when they don't need to be, again, we were talking about IBS at the beginning of this. There's so many things that mimic celiac disease, and you think that you may be going gluten-free, and you're like, oh, I feel better, therefore I'm celiac. That's not necessarily true. Mm-hmm. And because of that, my second point is, if you are diagnosed, there are certain proper follow-ups. So DEXA scan, at least 2 in your life, 1 when you're diagnosed, 2 to follow up. Which is bone density scans, especially important for women. Even when you're young, I had osteopenia at 25, so like very important. Your bones are important. Obviously, bones are important.
Right. But
so do that. Follow-up biopsy to make sure that you're healing. Follow-up blood work if applicable. Like, there are certain things you need to do. You're more at risk for certain things in your life, so you'll need to be scanned for other tested for other autoimmune diseases, and that way you're cognizant. Once you have one, you have others, so you'll be on the watch for other autoimmune disease issues. So getting a diagnosis and getting proper medical follow-up are super important. So again, that all goes back to don't self-diagnose. Get diagnosed by a medical professional.
Absolutely. And not by hair analysis and not by a food sensitivity test. And I saw a hair analysis question twice already this week in a Facebook group, but I'm like, no, that doesn't test anything accurately. Nothing.
No, I mean, it can test if you smoke pot.
Right.
Like, it's like, you can test if you've done drugs, but it cannot test if you're celiac. So It's just about knowing the limitations of, like, what these tests are, and, like, you can easily be scammed, and that sucks, because we already have a hard enough time as it is being diagnosed. Oh, no.
Right.
There you go.
Yep. Ellen says thank you. Ellen's the Tri-County Celiac Support Group in Farmington Hills. She's one of their board members.
Oh, awesome.
And they've had Dr. Guanaline come, and they've had like Cynthia Cooper has come to one of their meetings, and so they've got some pretty big name people to come and lay down the knowledge.
Yeah, I love Guanaline.
Yeah, I met him once. He did he was the head speaker at the Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus. And he couldn't even be there the whole day. So he was running out the door to get on the plane to go back to Chicago, but he was really sweet.
Well, I've met him several times, and he didn't remember who I was, and that's completely okay.
Oh, no.
I finally got to hang out with him, 2 months ago in March. It was my last trip that I took.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's like, oh, have we met before? I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, don't feel bad. It's okay. He's cute. I did.
And I met Dr. Joseph Murray years ago, and him and his bow tie and his Irish brogue. I'm like, I could listen to you all day.
I love all of them. They're all my little heroes. I should have little pinup posters of all my favorite celiac doctors. They're my favorite.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for your time tonight. And again, if you are not following Erica and the Celiac at the Beast, go do it right now when we're done with this. And also, I meant to grab it. Hold on, I'll grab 1 second.
Uh-oh.
And get her book. If you don't have it, get the book. I even got mine personally signed by the author. Do you remember what you wrote in it?
Is it a giraffe?
We'll always have Bear Burger.
Oh my God, so good. Bear Burger when you locked your keys in the car. It's so good.
But it's especially if you're newly diagnosed. I mean, this is a shameless plug. You have such a great sense of humor. And it's I'll hold it up. Great sense of humor. And it's really worth reading. And I think especially when you're newly diagnosed, you're just overwhelmed. And we talk about, just such a huge change and you're sad. And I think you present things in a real way, but you make me laugh. I remember reading it on the plane on the way back from FabLogCon, and I was laughing out loud on the plane, and people were like, what is wrong with that woman? But
I did it for.
Yep, so it's a great job. So please go out and get it. It's on Amazon. It's through your website. Did I say it's through Target now, too?
Yeah, Target's selling it. Good for you, Target.
That's right.
It's super weird, but good for Target.
I'm like, hey, the more advocacy we can do, we'll take it wherever we can get it, right?
Exactly.
Right. Well, I'm going to sign off before Instagram tries to kick us off. So thanks again, my dear, and you have a great night and enjoy whatever dinner you end up having. And
chicken wings, something chickeny in an air fryer. That's easy.
Absolutely.
All right, bye guys. Thanks so much. Thanks, Margaret.
Thank you, Erica. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
I think I went.
So thanks everyone for watching. And again, seriously, if you aren't following Erica, go do it because you need to. And then this is her book, Celiac and the Beast. A love story between a gluten-free girl, her genes, and her broken digestive tract. It's hilarious and very informative. So this is it for my talks scheduled for this month. I think I'm going to try to maybe do one a week, maybe here on out if there's somebody I think that you would benefit from listening to. And we are going to reschedule with Cindy Gordon from Vegetarian Mama because she had to postpone that talk. So that will be sometime in June, probably next Wednesday. And then this will end up being uploaded again, like all my other videos. You can go to my website and all these are linked. Their YouTube links will be there. And then also on my Facebook page. So thank you everyone this month who's watched and listened, and hopefully it's been informative to you. That was really the goal, is to maybe help you learn about topics you didn't know much about before. So if there's somebody that you'd want me to interview, a topic you want me to cover, please let me know and I will search those kind of people out and maybe we'll have another Instagram chat. So thanks so much, everyone. Have a great Friday night and have a wonderful weekend.